Hi, my name's Karen and my channel is called Kaki's Creations. Here today I'm going to show you how to needlefelt a lovely picture of some spring flowers. And if you like what you see, please continue to watch my channel. I do lots of wet felting, needle felting and even some knitting on a knitting machine. Please subscribe if you enjoy this and I hope you have fun. Today we're going to show how to do the picture on the left. These are some irises, although they sort of look like crocuses, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. Equally, the picture of the sunflowers on the right can be done in exactly the same technique. Basically, we're going to use some pre-felt, some various individual bits of wool, and then put a nice frame around it. It should take about an hour and a half. You should be able to achieve it in that time. Some of the action I will speed up so you don't have to watch me doing it for the whole hour and a half. Hope you enjoy this. First, cut a piece of pre-felt or ordinary wool felt, slightly bigger than the size that you require it because you want to have some ability to move around. Then we're going to lay some wool roving in the colour of your choice for the background across the pre-felt, and you're going to use a clover pen, 5 or 7 needle clover pen, hopefully with a little guard to protect your fingers, to just stab that in flat. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. As you go, you'll see your various little punches where you're doing it, and keep going on it until you get to a nice even flat surface to work on. Keep lifting your wool up against your pre-felt from your foam pad, otherwise you'll find you're stuck to it on the bottom. Keep going. I'm showing you just as I've got towards the end. When you want to just smooth it out, rub your hand, the warmth of your fingers just helps the felt move together, and there you've got your base ready to work on. Now you need to then take perhaps a mount for your frame. Then you can have a look at exactly what size the picture is going to show through the middle. I just use some dressmaking pins to mark that out so I know the actual size. Then I just take the frame off the top, and then I've got my pins so I can see exactly where I'm going. Then you're going to take your fibres and start laying out your design. I'm using the dark greens. Always think about what's at the background because you can't actually put things in behind other items very easily. So work from the back to the front. I'm going to put some general sort of green colours in here, and I'm going to stab these so that they basically thin out as I push them in. But I'm getting them just in the general direction. I want 2 or 3 heads at the top, maybe a couple of buds to the left hand side, and bear in mind, leaves aren't just all one colour, so I'm going to put 3 or 4 different colours on here to kind of variegate it. If you think it's too thick, split it out like I've just done and space it out across the felt. Use an individual needle. You can use a triple needle as well. I'm using a twisted spiral. Here, the light blue one from Heidi Feathers. If you've never got your needles from Heidi Feathers, look it up, heidifeathers.co.uk. Brilliant needles, very good quality, and they're all colour coded. And I've got a very light blue twisted needle here. The twisted needle gives you slightly less holes showing, and it will show you quite a nice fine detail. On her website, she's got a note that shows you what all the individual needles are used for, so why not use that? You can twist your fibres to get them into thinner strips as you go and lay them on. I'm going to speed this up a little bit in a second, just so that you can see it a bit more fast moving. A little bit faster now. You can start to see the shape of the leaves coming into play. And I'm going to put some sort of slightly lighter coloured wool on. This is all just carded batt that I'm using. Carded wool felts nicely, a little bit easier to use than just straight roving. Just putting a little bit of light and shade, just giving a bit of variegation to the leaves here. You don't really have to follow a picture. You can take a picture of something that you see out in nature and follow it if you like. I looked up various different pictures on Pinterest and took a few, printed a few, and have worked a little bit of everything into this design. The bottom I know will be underneath the edge of the mount, so don't have to worry too much. That's where the little pins give you a feeling of how big your design is. And I've got various different greens. I've got another sort of sage green here just to give a bit of extra colour to the leaves. Some of these will get covered by the flower heads, so you have to be a bit generous with some of the leaf colours so that you'll see them through. Play around, always just fun. Be surprised what the end will come. Twist them so that the colours come to each side. Doesn't look quite so rigid as straight up and down verticals. When you've got all your stems in place, then you need to make a piece of pre-felt in order to cut out your various flower heads. So what I've done is taken another bit of pre-felt, put loads of blue all over because my flower heads are going to be blue, and I'm going to stab this and I'm going to make this into a solid piece of pre-felt. I can then cut the shapes of the leaves out. It's a lot easier than trying to put the shapes free flow onto the work, although obviously that's another method that lots of people use. I find this is a really good way of doing it. You can make it as dense as you want. You could variegate it if you wanted. You could put a little bit of white in there. I've just chosen a nice beautiful bright blue, which is a bit like an iris or a crocus colour. I love that colour, and you can see a lot of it in the springtime in nature. And you're going to, just like you did with the base, you're going to stab that all together. Make sure you put enough colour on it. You might need to put a little bit more blue when you see some holes. Make sure you get your blue dense enough so that you've got full covering. You don't want to see the grey through it. The grey is just going to help support it. Now you can start to cut out your petal shapes. I'm just doing a sort of general sort of petal shape around here, although I know that kind of flowers that I'm trying to look at don't really have a point at each end, so I'm just going to round out that end in a few minutes. You'll see that, and I'm going to just build up a few here. Unfortunately, I've got the video slightly showing me cutting off picture, so I'll speed this up so that you can see it overall. Here it is, a little bit faster. You can see I'm making several petal shapes that I'm going to use. You will find that as you cut, you might see a little bit of grey on the edge, but you're going to see how I cover that over with a little bit of roving once you've positioned all the petals. When you think you've got enough, now's the time to get your work back. So I'm going to put those all aside, bring my work back and start to place them. I place them all where I want them before I stab them into place. Just thinking that's a nice bud shape, and those petals. I'm trying to get an iris shape, which is 3 big petals down and 2 up at the top, but hasn't quite worked brilliantly. But this is a video about the technique rather than the perfection, and remember, everything you do is perfect for you. Thinking that leaf will be behind the other one, so cut that one a little bit short. This will look a lot more smooth once I put them into place. Just now giving them a few stabs just to hold them into position. You'll see in a minute how I get that a little bit firmer. Another bud down the bottom, and then I think I'll have one more, just putting a little bit more green there to make sure that the buds that I put in are actually joined up with stems, because I've sort of put a bud in there when I didn't expect to put one, so I made that a little bit further up. The next flower heads, and 3 main flower heads and 2 or 3 buds down below. Keep pulling it off the mat so it doesn't get stuck. And I'm using a 3-pin needle pen just to get these a little bit firmer into place. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is start putting in the centre the little bits of yellow, and I've done exactly the same. I've got a little bit of yellow pre-felt, and I've actually bought pre-felt here, not one that I made on top of a grey base. So I actually had some yellow pre-felt that I actually bought commercially from World of Wool. Cutting around to make the little teardrops inside the flower heads. Continuing just to get everything in place. I'm also putting a little bit of roving here around the edges, just strips the blue roving just to stop the grey where I've cut it from the pre-made piece showing. It just gives a little bit of edge, so just taking some very wispy bits pulled off of the backing just to get it just a little bit smoother. We don't really want that grey cut edge to actually show, so, but it does help to pre-make them. You can get the sort of nicer shape than trying to do it all completely freehand. Just going round and round all the edges. You can see all the little grey cuts now disappearing a little bit. So, what to do next? Got to start thinking shortly about the centres of the flowers. Now, if I was trying to sort of copy an iris and sort of crocus type, then they basically got a sort of darker core centre at the middle of the sort of stamen when they open out. So I'm going to have a little look, just a quick test with the mount, make sure it's still in place. And now I'm going to have a quick look and find the nice wool, sort of deep purple. Pushing that into the centres and also wisping it slightly into a couple of the top leaves. Petals rather, not leaves. It's always difficult when you're doing the voiceover of a video. I don't like to do it at the time of making it because I'm concentrating. Here I'm putting in just a little bit of white, just to give a little bit of colour and variegance to the light, because it's not a solid colour in these kind of flowers. I always hate doing the voiceovers, so if I'm stuttering or umming and ahhing, apologies. Not a professional, just a great crafter who enjoys passing on good tips to everyone else. Right, there we go. Now I'm going to edge it. I've got some boucle mohair. I'm just going to show this slowly so you can see exactly how it's done. I'm laying that round, just stabbing in the very edges just to outline the petals to give it a little bit more definition. You could actually use free motion embroidery to do that, or even individual sewing, or you could just leave it without the edging, but I find it just brightens out the picture. On the sunflower one I didn't bother, I just left the petals as they are. This one, so this boucle thread, it's slightly got little circles in it as it goes down. It's lovely because it's not straight, so it gives a little bubbling effect to the edge, which you can't really see unless you're closer to the picture itself. I'm just going to speed up the picture now, getting towards the end. This sort of last bit, important to do. I think the definition of the petals is important. Overall, this took me about an hour and a half. This video is only about 15 minutes, obviously showing you rather faster than that. This is easily a project for a beginner, and you can certainly have a good try out. Anything you don't like, you can pull it off, start again. Remember, with needle felting, it's very forgiving. You can cover over it with a different colour if you don't like what you've done. So don't despair if something doesn't look exactly as you want. Just keep going at it. Keep practicing. It's a great hobby, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. I've got lots of other videos, lots of wet felting videos. I'll try and do a few more needle felting ones, and I'm shortly going to do a little ladybird, and I'll be putting that up on the screen shortly too. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Please press the subscribe button. Thank you. Bye.